Welcome to all of you once again to World Auto Forum Summit 2017. And the next on the lists of procedures is the Power Panel 1, and the panelists who are going to do the honors for this particular session are Mr. RKC Ranjith, Head IT, TVS Motor Corp. Sir. Welcome, sir. Mr. Saurabh Kumar, Partner Deloitte, who also is the moderator for this particular session. Welcome, sir. Dr. Chandan Chowdhury, Vice President, Global Affairs and Business Development, Dassault Systems India Private Limited. Welcome, sir. Dr. Gauraav Thakar, Head of Marketing, QualityKiosk. Welcome, sir. Mr. Ravish Sahay, EVP and Head of Emerging Verticals. Mr. Hilal Khan, CIO Honda Cars India. Welcome, sir. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Sudhanshu Maharana, Head IT, Honda Motorcycle and Scooter India. Welcome, sir. This Power Panel 1 is about blueprint for the next generation ERP. Over to you, sir.
So good morning, everybody. Being a Saturday morning, starting with such a good note, I hope we'll have a nice panel discussion. It's a very difficult thing to leave auto. I started my career in Tata Motors long back and then moved to consulting, but somehow could never leave auto because it's such a nice learning experience every day. Somebody used to tell me long back that auto is a mix of so many sectors. You have on one side a cutting-edge product development team, which is coming up with new product lines, new models, be it trucks, be it utility vehicles, be it cars. On the other hand of your value chain, you have procurement, which is continuously cutting costs, bringing efficiencies, and looking like a very frugal kind of department. So joining all these two together, their information needs, the role of the IT function is really complex. You have a marketing team which looks into branding, because today nobody buys an utility vehicle, they buy a brand as well, be it even a truck or any other utility or car. Similarly, the sales team is trying to have the best of the breed CRM solutions. Your financing team is acting like a bank because they have their own information and data needs. So being in the IT function of any automotive sector company is a very challenging role, and we have a very august gathering here. We'll try to talk about something which is ERP. We love it, we hate it, but we can't ignore it. Till today, the ERP systems are core engine of any information system, and we are going to talk about ERPs. We all know the evolution of ERP. It was MRP, MRP1, MRP2, ERP1, ERP2, but nowadays we talk about next generation ERP. So we'll discuss about next generation ERP, what are views around it, Is it because of hardware changes? It is because of some high decibel acquisitions and mergers of the ERP companies? What is the shape and size of new generation ERP which we will face in the times to come? So maybe we'll request our panel members maybe to spend a couple of minutes on your views, your own ideas around the new generation ERP, and maybe we can then take the discussion forward, sir.
Good morning. ERP generally, for example, some 10 years back, it was mostly confined for manufacturing industries, and it mainly looks at data within an organization, within the boundaries of an organization. But in future, as the business processes are all changing, future ERPs cannot be confined within the enterprise. It need to get, you need to reach to the partners like dealers in automobile companies, or it has to go to the suppliers for automobile companies. For example, earlier we used to do MRP planning, means we need to look at only the stock within the company. But today, if I want to do a planning, I need to know what is there at my dealership. Stocks that also is very much important for me. What are the stocks available at my supplier end is also very important for me, because our business processes of planning are much more advanced now. And with the current ERP structure, these things are not available. We need to have multiple solutions to cater to all those things. So future ERP need to go one step to the distribution side and one step back to the supplier side also.
Yeah, please. I would like to share with you that I started my career when I moved to corporate. I used to be a professor, dean, and chairman at the National Institute of Industrial Engineering. So when I moved to corporate in 1999, I started in a ERP company. So in a sense, ERP has been very close to my heart. I'd like to share with you that how do I see the new generation ERP? First of all, new generation ERP got to be extremely cloud friendly. They got to be extremely mobile friendly. And they got to have inbuilt intelligence. Traditionally, ERPs has been more like it's more like you do stuff and capture the transaction. So I think from routine transaction, it got to move to intelligence, right? From reactive, it got to move to proactive. Now let me give you two examples. Why do I say that? The whole traditional concept of best practices, right? That you are implementing best practices. So I think this whole concept of best practice is not going to be static. If I deploy a practice which I say best practice and it remains static, I would get disrupted. So companies got to have the freedom, the customer, that they are able to change the practices. And that change should not be so complex, right? How we have traditionally seen in ERP system. Now the two specific examples that I wanted to give you, for example, manufacturing processes. Now manufacturing processes are going through transformation because of additive manufacturing. Factories are becoming smarter. Then you find, when you talk about material transaction, that you got a masters, you got a code for a material got an attribute. Now today people are talking about inventing a material. You invent a material of your choice, of your requirement, which is safer, better, more reliable. So I think, the new generation ERPs are going to be much more simpler. They are going to be much more technology friendly. They're going to be cloud friendly. They're going to have a lot of inbuilt intelligence.
Good morning. I have two lines of thought. An ERP is an enabler. It serves a purpose. The post-modern era ERP, according to me, has to be very agile. It has to be agile to serve two needs. One, the automotive industry is at a point of inflection. It is going to change. Is an individual going to buy cars, or is it Uber and Ola? Are people going to drive cars, or is it going to be completely automated? Now that's the question. The industry is at a point of inflection. It's going to change. This change will not happen overnight. It will happen milestone after milestone. Is the post-modern era ERP poised to pivot quickly to accommodate changes? Is it agile? It has to be all-inclusive. All stakeholders should be on board, but it should not be tightly coupled. It should be loosely coupled. It should be agile. Second, your customer is very finicky. Instant gratification is what he wants. He wants to be delighted, pleasured each time across every moment of truth. Is your ERP agile enough to cater to your customer across multiple channels and give him an omni-channel experience and a multimodal experience? I think if we can crack that, customer centricity and agility in the post-modern era ERP, we have a winner.
Yeah, good morning. For me, if I see the journey in the ERP, right, from on-premise to cloud, this is a transformation. And even if we see today, as a market, India, I would say is not an experimental market, because we do not want to experiment. We rather want to implement which has already been implemented somewhere else. So even if we say current state of ERP, still you have your core system, your core processes, which is on-premise. You would not mind to host even the accessories, like you have your CRM, you have your HCM, you have your procurement system, you have your travel management system on the cloud, and then you would like to integrate that. So I would say that yes, the future of ERP, or rather any system, is like you pay as you use, which is like on cloud. At the same time, security is the major concern which needs to be addressed. And I believe this is a transformation journey which will take a while once you completely migrated on the cloud and offering those services and getting experience and benefit which you are in today's world. And that is what I believe the future of ERP or future of any system should be.
Good morning. Talking about ERP in isolation, I think it's not going to be fair. Fortunately or unfortunately, I am from IT, but I do not like talking about IT. So we have to understand the business perspective, and then we can try to relate why ERP 1, ERP 2 or MRP. And for some organization, ERP 1 is fine. For some organization, even ERP 2 is not sufficient. It depends upon the vertical. It depends upon the stage of the organization. In yesteryears, ERP was all about enabling the transactions. It was all about adapting and laying down the processes. Considering the dynamics of the market today, and considering the fact that speed is everything to win in this competitive market, you have to offer your services beyond your premise. You have to take care of all your stakeholders, be it your dealers, be it your suppliers, be it your mobile workforce. You can adapt in modular fashion. So if we talk about all those needs, the evolution of the ERP from ERP 1 to ERP 2 to next gen ERP is there. So for me, ERP is not relevant. the business conditions are relevant. And an adequate IT business case is something that will take care of that business case. Thank you.
Good morning all. So actually when this topic was being discussed a few days back, and I have to prepare that what is, then I started thinking of next generation ERP. So actually I'll tell you about, I have some experience in this industry. Like I continuously from last 17 years I am with HMSI, and I have seen the very traditional customized packaged solution to the journey of an integrated SAP solution end to end. So unfortunately, like 2015 we had implemented end to end SAP, and we now enjoying the benefit of integrated system where all kind of information integratedly getting. But the point is still now if we are thinking the next generation, still to work on a ERP, we have to sit in front of a desk and do it. Now, the world is moving towards more of use of a mobility. So what I think is how easily it can be available on the mobile, so that working is much easier. Apart from this, when we talk about mobility and all those kind of things, lot of analytics or lot of data is actually being generated. Now I give another example. Like you have seen the credit card industry, or you go to any credit card sites, the individual can get very easily his spend analysis. Likewise in a ERP also, what is required is all the people are actually working. Now to catch the pace of the industry, each individual has to work. So each individual has to analyze his work, what he is doing. Same hierarchy wise, an individual, then his department, his operation. So that analytical power is a next generation expectation. That analytics should be there in the next generation ERP. Now when we talk about all those kind of things, does this traditional architecture or infrastructure will able to serve it? So what should be the infrastructure of it, where we should put all these things, and we got a sufficient performance to get this output. So this talks about as a user industry, and in the user industry IT, will it take care of all those kind of things? So then we look towards the cloud. Okay, there is something we should put there as a service we enjoy, and we should more concentrate on the business propositions of it. So this is my summation.
Yeah, certainly. So thanks all of you. We got to know to some extent a viewpoint of the expert panel on what we really mean by next generation ERP. I personally think that ERP will stay, because we all hear a lot of stories about death of ERP, but in my very personal opinion, it will remain somewhere, primarily because of the market dynamics as well. ERP companies are acquiring a lot of products because they knew for sure that the best of breed is coming. People will want something on cloud, something on premise. People will want best of the solutions to be given to their employees, their customers, their value system at large. So in a nutshell, ERP will stay, but there will be a new generation of that. And we talk about business process, we talk about process driving ERP, and the architectural aspects. So starting a few more threads on the discussion, Mr. Ranjith, from your own experience in an Indian domestic market which has also evolved, the need of information you may have seen in your experience evolving to a great extent. What kind of immediate messages you have for the general IT function in an auto sector company right now? From your side, what are the typical changes which will come in the near term in your industry?
Yes, earlier I just mentioned in my earlier this one that the information requirement is not confined to what is available within the organization today. For example, for sales and marketing, if you take as a function, none of the information available within the factory is relevant for them. They need to know what is there in the field. So these things, today, the current generation ERP may not be enough. So most of the companies would have developed their own systems, or they would have hired some other external vendor systems and then started using it. So both in terms of in the backward supply chain for the supplier as well as for the dealer, the information requirements have drastically changed over a period of time.
Certainly, I mean, from social, what we call social media, unstructured data, influencing our decision making, it is no more the internal decision support system, but it is something more than that.
Yeah.
And it will be influenced largely by those type of inputs coming from all around. And we need to be careful. That is a real-term message from this.
Yeah, not only on social, even for example, sales, if you look at it, what we sell to our dealer, it's not of much interest for our field staff. But what goes to the customer is what is more important. So generally, unless I give that information to the sales team, other one is not much relevant for him. So we require information from our extended IT systems, not only from our regular traditional ERP systems.
Great point, sir. So from you, you have been in academics, moved into corporate ERP, and ERP you are so passionate about talking about it. Sir, where do you see the new age innovation from technology versus the concepts of supply chain, concepts of what comes out of our universities and what comes out of our startup ecosystem? Ultimately has to merge somewhere, and ERP being the backbone of this, perhaps will get impacted. So my precise question will be, is that how do you see the universities of tomorrow contributing to ERP of tomorrow? Do you see any relation, or do you think that the core product companies will drive all the innovation forward? From your personal perspective, a little bit of view on that.
Sure, yeah. I think it's a very interesting question. In the center, it's always going to be the consumer, the end consumer, the customer. It's going to be the customer who is going to drive the innovation. And so the processes which are built not just within the company, because in automotive sector, it's all about whether my value chain is more than others. I do better if my value chain is more competitive. And increasingly, I think OEMs will become more of just taking responsibility of everything. And the research institutions, academic institutions, I think they're going to play a very important role because companies, if they want to be competitive, they got to be having young, innovative blood all the time getting injected into the organization. And then they will have some strategic research projects which they may need to really collaborate with academic institutions, research institutions, because I think in future, in automotive industry, competitive edge is not going to be all about how do you leverage what you have. It's going to be all about how do you create new stuff to meet the aspirations of your increasingly demanding customers. So I think understanding customer's requirement and understanding customers' need for personalization and customized product and integrating that, backward integrating that with your R&D, with your organization, with your ERP backbone, with your innovation processes, with your management decision-making cycle, with your supplier chain, with your after-sales support process. So I think, the more we are able to build a seamlessly integrated value chain which continually innovate to deliver unique new experiences which are customized, personalized to the end consumers, which
Right.
is also sustainable. Because if you go to Nordic, sustainability becomes one of the most key things. And I think it's just a question of time. In India, you will find that our automotive sector is going to go through a huge challenge because citizens are not going to tolerate that companies don't have technology which will deliver cars, mobile vehicles, which are not polluting the environment. If they don't have it, they would die. So I think,
certainly, because
this collaboration is going to be very, very
so
important.
ultimately, both from talent, innovation, and also having that kind of visibility of citizen aspirations will come both from the academics as well as from the industry, right? So from you, you talked about cloud. It is a traditional industry at the end of the day. It is an industry which has innovated, and proudly so, on a sustained basis for last more than 100 years, unlike any other industry. You take up one value chain, a sub-value chain of automotive. We have innovated much more than any other industry sector, right? Now, suddenly we face the reality of, should we really go to cloud, or the traditional way of on-prem plus surrounding with cloud, will it work? So how do you see that change coming in, and will that really change for this industry sector?
Okay. On-prem versus cloud, or somewhere in between, a hybrid. Now, contrary to popular belief, year over year, your cloud costs can actually go up and might be prohibitive as compared to an on-prem model. In any industry, let's take automotive industry, every company has a different tech stack. Every company has different processes, right? So the innovation that you've talked about, bang on. The industry has innovated continuously on technology, on products. They've researched a lot. And they have evolved to a stage where somebody might go for one model, vis-a-vis somebody else might go for another. I want to take a different angle here. ERP has to change not from an innovation of technology point of view. ERP has to reorient itself. I'll come back to the agility of ERP. ERP has to be agile, whether it's on-prem, whether it is on cloud or a hybrid. It has to be agile in the sense that the business model is going to change. Innovation is going to be around the business model, not technology, not ERP per se. So that's my angle.
So process orientation will drive the choices, be it a cloud, be it on-premise, doesn't really matter, because that way innovation should not be inhibited by the architectural constraints, if I can
Don't
say
go
so.
on cloud because everyone is going on cloud.
Okay, yeah, right.
Innovation is hygiene. If you're not doing it, you're obsolete. But if you're innovating the way your end customer, the guy who's buying the car, the way he interprets your innovation is key. So innovate in the right direction, not for the sake of innovation.
Great point.
Yeah?
Great point. Innovation is hygiene. And more so when you have been setting benchmarks for other industry sectors, automotive will have to remain the example that way. From you, maybe a contrarian view to him if possible, or how do you see IoT devices all over the place? We talk about pollution caused by automobiles. People from industry talk about exhaust of data. Data exhaust is also polluting. We have so much of that coming from all over the place. A car has got thousands of components, hundreds of motors, a few of them servo motors. They will give you a lot of advice. How much will you really consume and how much you really need? So Something on cloud, something on IoT, if you have some viewpoint to share.
Yeah, so, till pretty recent time, I was associated with one of the leading ERP vendor. And that has given me opportunity to work in a different segment across industry. And when I today see the industries and when I compare that with automotive, I believe the touch points, there are multiple touch points of the human angle with that. And you have asked some IoT and data on that. Now, to share with you some of the data, like by 2020, there are going to be 50 billion devices worldwide which is going to be connected. It means the 7 devices, multiple devices are going to be connected with every man, women, and children on this planet. Right? So now you see the data which is going to be there. Now I'll give you an example of a journey of a consumer. Now when I am going to buy a car, I have already decided. I have done all the research, so I have already determined which car I have to buy or which vehicle I have to buy. I am going to showroom just to have test drive. And once I have taken test drive, I have negotiated with him, I have paid him money, and if possible, if customization is done, which many of the manufacturers are offering, fine. Now, till this segment, till this point, if you see, communication is from my side to vendor, whereas I am trying to get those information. The moment I have signed a deal with the vendor, where he said, okay, I will be customizing your vehicle. Now, here onwards, the communication is from vendors to the customer, right? Now, once car is delivered, now what happens? There are lots of data which is going to be there. Now, even insurance companies are deciding premium on the basis of how I'm driving my car. So now you see if a person who is driving car from 3 years to 5 years to 7 years, so lots of data which is going to be there. The data transportation through different modes, the data transportation and data connection through different devices. That is where what Hilal said, I subscribe to him, that the business is coming in. And your main concern is security, not the connectivity. The connectivity any which way is given, you have to provide that, right? Okay. Now I'll tell you, we are working very closely with lots of automotive companies, like Tata Motors. Now Tata Motors, we have set up a lab there for IoT, for connected cars and for infotainment system. They recently launched the Tigor and Temo, the entire infotainment system and connected devices we have tested. Now we are amazed to see the data which is going to transmit. So the IoT or the connected device which we say is going to play a very, very important role. Now, when I am talking to you, now everything is connected here, right? Now, my life is connected to you. So now the data which is going to be exposed is humongous, So
you are saying that somewhere processes will determine the touch points, and those touch points are going to be humongous because of the technology we have with us. And that data has to be properly analyzed for businesses to do better than competitors, better for themselves, and things like those, right?
I would rephrase this as, this data is coming. Why? Because customer is demanding.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Technology is just serving that purpose. So I would say technology is a vehicle on which I am going to get my desired data. Today, you see, what all we want to know. We want to know everything. I tell you, I was sitting with one of the leading e-commerce company, and their marketing team has given a data that is really surprised us. He said that what sort of person I am, where I was on that day, what sort of food I like. I have a child which is this age. I say, boss, this is really scary.
Yeah.
So you see the data which is traveling, it is humongous.
See, we talk about privacy, we talk about data protection, and there is a human angle. So maybe I'll come to Mr. Hilal Khan. You have been in this industry for so long. I'm not going to talk to you about things which are more IT, as you mentioned rightly while we started. But where do you see people like all of us and the newcomers, the bright people who join you, your team, us, our team from consulting, what is the people dimension and how will the new generation ERP influence that people-oriented view of IT organizations? I mean, you have been leading a lot of good people, you have seen them grow. There was a time when IT function used to compete with IT companies. How do you see the people angle in the times to come?
Well, when you talk about, youngsters, various dimension to it.
Right.
Youngsters joining my IT organization, youngsters joining my business side, or youngsters who are actually driving the market. Now, if I only think about the youngsters who are there in my team, probably I'm not doing the justice with the word
please feel
youngsters,
free.
right?
I mean, people side of the auto business.
They are also customers somewhere,
Certainly.
right? So it's the new generation which is actually determining the market needs, which is determining the market dynamics. Today, when we are less physically connected and more social media, connected through social media, when we are talking on mobile most of the time, our needs are very, very different. Our orientation is very different. And probably that is something which is actually driving the technology. Technology in itself is not evolving. Technology is evolving on account of the changing needs of the customer, the changing needs of the market. And because of that changing need, you talk about on-premise, or you talk about cloud, or you talk about a solution which is having a social media interface, or which is having a mobile capability. Now, to do and deliver that kind of technology, you need different kind of passion. People who are challenging the status quo.
Certainly.
People who are not thinking in a very traditional system development methodology point of view. They are agile in terms of their mindset. They want to learn, and they have the ability of trial and error. How we are actually allowing that kind of blood in our organization. So if that kind of mindset is there, complementing to the needs of the market, through a solution, could be ERP1 or ERP2 or whatever, that's all right. So that will be taken care of. So how you take care of these people and how you take care of the hunger of the people is very important, because we were talking about data. We have too much of hunger of data, but we don't discuss really as to why we need this data.
Certainly.
What we'll be doing with this data? How we'll be reading that data? Do we have enough data scientists with us who will be interpreting that data into a meaningful manner and taking the decisions accordingly? So this is where we talk about social, we talk about mobile, we talk about on-premise, we talk about embedded analytics. But how we are actually going to use it for my business, to give value to my business and to value to my customer, that's really important.
Yeah, it's a very dispassionate view for a person who is from IT to say that IT is primarily to serve rather than driving it, because I have seen a lot of people talking about otherwise. We are running short a little bit of time. Yeah, please, sir. You
Sorry.
want?
See, I'm not saying that IT is to serve, because if I say so, I'm just considering IT as an enabler. No, IT is the differentiator as well. But we have to understand where, how much emphasis we have to put, right?
Certainly, prioritization of emphasis. So we are running short a little bit of time. So quickly we'll go through your views on, we have a term, amplified intelligence, because it is no more my internal data, it is all over the place, and therefore my intelligence, the business intelligence, the analytics is now amplified. Any view around the new generation ERP handling analytics from your point of view?
Okay, as I said earlier also, like the point is, when we are with a company, what is more important is, right now what we see now, analytics, when we talk about, we create one department in operation, one small distinct team who talks about analytics and who does analytics, right? But actually, the best thing will be each individual who works on the system should do analysis of the activity what he is doing. Because like I'm working with the Japanese company, so they have a concept of Kaizen, you might have heard of, right? The thing is, you should always look back what you are doing, analyze that, and improve the situation. So, only thing is, if you're working with some system, it should give me the information that what it is, how it is, and then so that an individual can move ahead, give ideas to his seniors, and like that.
So great point. I mean, it's like democratization of analytics rather than that being secluded into a few pockets of so-called top management. So everybody has to be analytically oriented and use analytics. Good point. So we have around 6 minutes to be precise for questions and answers. So I think the panel will be very pleased and happy to take any of your questions, please. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Zia Khan. I just wanted to ask, what is the role of, should I say, artificial intelligence in enhancing the functionality and the processes of an ERP? If anyone would like to take that answer.
Yeah, Gauraav, will you like to take it? Yeah.
Okay. So the last thread that was stopped was analytics in ERP. Now, a lot of systems are gathering a lot of data. So I'll answer your question with a use case, something that we have done for one of our clients. You're driving somewhere in rural Madhya Pradesh, your car breaks down, and the local mechanic, since it's a top-end version, doesn't know how to fix it. He doesn't know what's wrong. So there's an IoT device, a telematics unit in the car, which has a SIM card, a fixed SIM card. It updates data every 60 seconds. You call your dealership. This data goes to cloud. It's integrated into the CRM. This person gets your customer code. He looks at the data. He looks at the trend, because every 60 seconds that data was fed to you. Now, there is an engine in the background which analyzes this data. It analyzes the trend, and it gives you possible causes of defect. This engine is based on machine learning. This is where the AI part comes into play. AI in ERP can be used in different ways. Like Ravish was mentioning, e-commerce companies know who you are, know who's in your family. Marketing automation, Eloqua Marketo, gets integrated into your CRM. Customer servicing gets integrated into your CRM. It's a connected ecosystem. Artificial intelligence is a concept. It is how you connect disparate data points into a customer journey, into a technical trend. It is basically connecting the dots. The predictive part is looking at what's happened and predicting with a higher percentage of probability what might go wrong. That's predictive.
Yeah, I mean, I just have a take on that artificial intelligence is not only artificial intelligence, it is actually augmented intelligence on human intelligence or corporate intelligence, and it works that way. It cannot be seen in isolation because ultimately there are various factors which influence it. So a limited view from my side as well. Any other questions, please? Yeah, please.
Hello, my name is Himanshu. I had a question for Gaurav. You alluded to that one should not go in for a cloud thing only because others are going. Given that your data needs are getting humongous, the data that is being generated that needs to be stored or analyzed is only getting bigger and bigger. An example is, suppose a company wants to record each and every conversation that any of the touch points has had with a customer so that it can be analyzed. Given that your data requirement is going humongous, doesn't that necessitate cloud computing?
Fair point. I did not say don't go to the cloud. I said every company in the same industry vertical, even if it is automotive, every company is different. In the sense, somebody might be using one CRM, somebody might be using something else. Tech stack, technology, processes, people, right? Your branding and positioning, that's what makes an organization. The last thing, which is the most important thing, is how you are perceived in the market. I'm not saying don't go to the cloud. Data is going to rise exponentially. IoT is about the connected car talking to your connected home, and everything in between, cars talking to cars, machine-to-machine communication. Go on the cloud if you feel it serves your business purpose. I'm not saying don't go on the cloud.
Yeah, very good point. I just wish to add what Mr. Khan had added, that the choices are based on the customer, the processes, as well as the culture you want to imbibe. So the choices of technologies do not drive you, except for maybe what iPhone has done to all of us. It has driven our behavior by inventing a device, but it seldom happens. Technology seldom, takes us to that direction. And what iPhone is iPhone today, primarily because it could do that. Now, not every technology, every bit will be able to achieve that part. So, very valid point, and I'm just trying to take a view what Mr. Khan added that time. We have around 30 seconds or a minute. So, if there is any last question, please feel free. So thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone. And thanks a lot for being such a nice audience. Thanks a lot.